The Stop Cop City is continuing to go on. VDI, along with the Atlanta Police Department, have arrested 3 people on charges stemming from the ongoing investigation of individuals responsible for numerous criminal acts at the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center and other Metro Atlanta locations. Cool. What's the statement? Here. Statement from the governor. Has it not been stopped? Nope. Oh, for those, okay, for those who don't know, basically, for a variety of reasons that are pretty complicated, Atlanta is building a fortress city designed to train cops to kill you specifically in a protected, like, wildlife area of outside of Atlanta. It's called Cop City. The arguments against it are Stop Cops, or the protests against it, Stop Cop City. It's pretty wild. You know, it's pretty wild. Billions are going into it's billions, right? Not hundreds of millions. It's billions. Like, this is a proper. They're building a fortress city. They're making it happen. Of course, construction is going to take a long, long time. Protesters have been very active in trying to fight against this. Here we go. Yeah, this is the planned campus. Look at this. This is like building a university. Jesus Christ. And there's the Metro Detention Center. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, for a size comparison, the detention center is this tiny block right here, and then all of this is, well, that. Like, what is the reason? Why does this need to happen? I don't know, because they hate you. Because they hate you. What do you mean? They hate you. It looks like a dictator's vanity project. It really does, yeah. For months, law enforcement and the state and local level have worked diligently to secure the site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center in the face of violence from mostly out-of-state activists. Remember, cops have already killed innocent people in the engagement between cops and protesters. Oh yeah, they're being charged with domestic terrorism, by the way. There have been protesters who haven't even done a thing who have been charged with domestic terrorism. It's getting so bad. Here we go. Atlanta police arrest 3 organizers behind bail funds supporting protests against Cop City. They've been aiding protesters against the city's proposed police and fire training center. It's a police training center. Don't let them add "and fire" in there to sanitize it. What's wrong with this? Don't we want them to have better training? No, the problem with police training isn't that they're not trained to do stuff. It's that they're trained to do the wrong stuff. This isn't going to better train them in the sense that it's going to make them less violent and more willing to de-escalate. It's going to train them in the sense that it makes them more confident that they have the moral right to shoot you without reprise. What is it? You seriously think a gigantic mega campus for training cops isn't just like a nightmarish Orwellian death fortress where they train people to stomp on your throat? Come on. State investigators said they found evidence linking all 3 to the alleged financial crimes after executing warrants Wednesday. What financial crimes? The Associated Press wasn't immediately able to obtain copies of arrest warrants or locate lawyers for the 3. They did not respond to calls or texts. What financial crimes? What financial crimes? They bailed out protesters and helped them find lawyers. That's not a crime. More than 40 people have been charged with domestic terrorism in connections with protests over the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, a cause that has gained international attention since authorities clearing the protesters' camps fatally shot an environmental activist in January. Officials said the officers fired in self-defense. This is not the case. After the protesters shot a trooper, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is investigating. Everything that I have heard about this has suggested that this is a complete lie. Cops will say this like every time. They're doing RICO charges. For what financial crimes? In a statement issued after the arrests, Brian Kemp said the state would track down every member of a criminal organization from violent foot soldiers to their uncaring leaders. What financial crimes? What charges? These criminals facilitated and encouraged domestic terrorism with no regard for others, watching as communities face the destructive consequence of their actions. Here in Georgia, we do not allow this to happen. So, if you're reading this, like what they're apparently, like, we don't even have the charges brought against them properly. Like, yeah, gestures vaguely, but they are mass arresting people, charging them with domestic terrorism, and treating people who are funding bailouts as though they are like financing domestic terrorism. Yeah, foot soldiers. Never heard of a bail fund being illegal? If the cops decide that what you're doing is illegal, it's illegal. What financial crimes? They have charged all 3 with money laundering and charity fraud. Any evidence? No? Okay. Okay, so no evidence. So it seems pretty fucking clear they're literally just doing this to stop them from being able to, like, they're literally just going to try to throw everyone who opposes this in jail. That's cool. That's really cool. That's great. The Atlanta Police Foundation funds Operation Shield, a citywide network of nearly 11,000 surveillance cameras and license plate readers that have expanded the round-the-clock monitoring of Black Atlantans. The Atlanta Police Foundation spent more than $2.6 million, nearly one-third of its reported 2017 expenses, on the Operation Shield surveillance program, eclipsing other expenses such as the At Promise Youth Initiative. Youth Center. Are they doing this because Atlanta's heavily pro-Democrat? Yes. Atlanta's not only heavily black and heavily pro-Democrat, it's also like the epicenter of the 2020 lie that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him. So the red state is cracking down on it, and this is definitely a part of that. A lot of this is revenge. No, that's bullshit. Kemp and Raffensperger aren't fucking pro-election denial. It's not a matter of whether or not they're explicitly pro-election denial. It's about political opposition and squelching the opposite. It's not. I'm not saying they're evangelists for the election denial thing. Like, it's any pro-cop initiative, is like a fundamentally right-wing endeavor in the current political context. The way this is being handled, domestic terrorism charges, like this is absolutely 100%, in large part motivated by the fact that Atlanta is like the blue city of Georgia, one of the blue cities in the South. Period. There are plenty of blue cities in the South. Yeah, but a lot of they're not. Yeah, I know there are a lot of blue cities in the South, but that's Atlanta. Bit of a big deal, no? Oh, this funding isn't near $1 billion. Around $100 million? 381 acres of forested land, $60 million of corporate funding, $30 million taxpayer dollars, zero accountability to community. The plans include military-grade training facilities, a mock city to practice urban warfare, explosive testing areas, dozens of shooting ranges, and a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad. That's nice. Wait, there's no way this whole facility is only going to cost $90 million. This might be like a yearly investment thing. There is no way something this size. How much does it cost to build like a university campus? Then you have to take into the like graft increases the cost massively. Yeah, hundreds of millions. The cost will go up for sure. They just built UC Merced as costing over $1 billion. Yeah. Atlanta Press on Twitter. Gotcha. Thank you. Lots of ways to pad the bill. Well, they do tend to lie about their initial estimates, right? Atlanta Community Press Collective. Let's see. This morning, APD raided the teardown house and arrested 3 organizers with the ATL Sole Fund. The Solidarity Fund provides legal defense and bail support for First Amendment protected activities in Atlanta and the surrounding area. I like the group they rolled up with, by the way. So they're being arrested for financial crimes, but for some reason we felt the need to bring out like a full SWAT team with the gigantic police van. Yeah, it's intimidation tactics for sure. I also found this Guardian article that looks into the investment funds that are connected to the construction of the the Cop City. Fire service training knows Cop City. Private equity refers to an opaque form of financing away from public markets with funds. Rourke Capital, an Atlanta-based private equity firm which owns the country's second-largest restaurant company, Inspire Brands, and corporate backer of the Atlanta Police Foundation. Cool. Paul Brown, the CEO of Inspire Brands, whose portfolio includes fast food franchises Dunkin', Baskin-Robbins, and Arby's, sits on the board of trustees of the APF, which is raising $60 million from corporate funders to build Cop City in the Atlanta forest, previously earmarked for a public park. Previously earmarked for a public park, too. Oh, we're getting a public park in our neighborhood. Nope. The APF has previously helped Atlanta police fund recruitment drives, surveillance cameras, and SWAT team equipment. The APF have helped Atlanta become the most surveilled city in the United States, in large part thanks to a program called Operation Shield. The Silicon Valley firm Silver Lake Management, one of the world's largest tech-focused private equity firms, has invested more than $1 billion in Motorola Solutions, which designed and implemented the surveillance system for Operation Shield, according to a new report by the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. Cyberpunk, but no pretty neon lights, Sag. True. Motorola has been criticized for providing high-tech surveillance equipment used in U.S. prisons on the U.S.-Mexico border and in the West Bank. Several European pension funds have divested from Motorola, and it was included in a UN list of companies that had raised particular human rights concerns by providing surveillance tools and other services to the Israeli government. Operation Shield currently boasts more than 12,800 private and public interconnected cameras monitored by the police, the highest per capita in the country. Motorola has sold more than $22 million worth of products and services to the Atlanta Police Department since 2016. Silver Lake Management has invested money from pension funds paid into by Texas and Ohio teachers and South Dakota and California state employees, according to PitchBook. In 2022, Silver Lake added Shadowbox Studios, a television and film studio company, to its portfolio with a $500 million investment. The studios are located south of the Cop City site. At an APF meeting on the Cop City budget in February, the agenda included what appeared to be a discussion on a potential future relationship between Shadowbox and the APF. The meeting agenda included the following item, quote, "Are there any scenarios where we can come up with some agreement to work with Shadowbox for them to help fund some components, and in return they will have access to use the facility for filming purposes?" End quote. It is a film group, and they are literally funding the fucking Judge Dredd training facility because it means they would get an easy deal on filming there in the future. It is literally just for profit. Everything that is being done is for profit. There is nothing broader or ideological about the decisions being made by these equity funds. One of the clearest imaginable examples you could possibly get of cops just being a tool for the bourgeoisie to protect their power and class interests. There's no evidence that Shadowbox had any knowledge of the agenda item or that has contributed in any way to the APF. Just asking questions. The private equity industry manages about 11 trillion globally. Asset managers and funds buy and restructure companies, include startups, franchises, troubled businesses, and other real estate operations using their clients' money. Yet, unlike banks and other publicly listed companies, private equity firms are exempt from most financial disclosure rules. Cool. Making it extremely difficult to track their assets or risks. It means people such as firefighters, nurses, teachers whose pensions are invested in private equity funds have little way of knowing if their retirement nest egg is financing police surveillance equipment, defense contractors, hospitals, or coal plants. Rourke Capital invests mostly in fast food chains and claimed $33 billion in assets under management in February 2023. They have lobbied against a federal minimum wage, of course, and a 2020 report by the Government Accountability Office found employees at some Rourke brands were among the most frequent recipients of food stamps in some states. After protests swept the U.S. in response to the 2020 police killing of George Floyd, Inspire Brands CEO and APF board member Paul Brown posted a letter on LinkedIn calling attention to violence and attacks by protesters, without mentioning the police violence that triggered the protests. Rourke's own CEO donated thousands of dollars to the former Georgia Senator David Perdue as he promoted the big lie and sought to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Another Rourke connection is Marshall Freeman, very real name, who for 7 years served as chief operating officer of the APF and sits on the board of the Inspire Brands Foundation, the company's philanthropic arm. Freeman has joined the Atlanta Police Department as a deputy chief administration officer. Invested money from several public worker pension funds. Rourke Capital did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Silver Lake declined to comment. The Atlanta Police Department was allotted a third of Atlanta's $700 million budget in 2022. Great. And has received additional money through the APF to expand its surveillance capacity and recruit more officers. Less than a week after Atlanta police shot and killed Rayshard Brooks in the summer of 2020, the APF gave every officer in the city a $500 bonus. The APF received a record $11.7 million in donations in 2021, a figure likely to rise since Georgia passed new legislation expanding personal tax breaks last year. In addition to funding the police directly, the city has also given the APF more than $3.6 million since 2016 for SWAT team equipment, license plate readers, and thousands of cameras for Operation Shield. Yeah, so the lesson here is that they're evil. They're not pretending to act in the public good. The cops on the ground may or may not know the full game. They tend to be pretty stupid, but the people making the decisions about all this are fully aware that they're just trying to build a repressive police state, and corporations are okay with that because cracking down on anti-cop protesters and sentiment is also a good way to crack down on pro-labor sentiment, which is why they support both. It's 2 in 1. Bottoms and tops, we all hate cops, yes. The only Pride slogan I endorse. It is worth noting, just in the interest of being clear, though, that, again, most cops are deeply stupid people, and a lot of them probably don't understand their place in the grand scheme of things. A lot of them might even be stupid enough to believe that their job has something to do with protecting the public. It's kind of cute. It's a little bit naive, maybe even a little endearing. Just keep that in mind. Cops are not all like, ultra aware, like systemically analyzing. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying. Don't they not hire cops if they're too smart? There have been multiple instances where we know that people have been rejected from the police for being too intelligent. They also generally encourage just stupid pig-like behavior. They just do. They train you to be like that.